This is actually really important. It's usually like, depending if it's dog, human and or human, doesn't really matter. But generally there's like, you know, you have what people call reactivity. Have you heard of that? Alright, so they'll say, oh, the dog's dog reactive or something like that.
Oh, yeah, right, I got you.
Yeah, have you? So do you know what that is?
No.
Okay. Or aggressive. So earlier you said to me, my dog's not aggressive, which is really good. Because I think from what I'm hearing, it's true. But I'm just going to give you a quick thing. The difference in between the two is actually all about the intent. The intent for aggression is to harm. And there are dogs like that, and they are rare, luckily, where this one is not to harm. And this will make sense to you in a second. However, there are 3 subcategories under reactivity, and this should make sense to you, and you can kind of gauge that as you go. So number 1 is what you said earlier, is the play. So a lot of dogs really want to play. They get frustrated and angry because they're like, why can't I get there? You know, leash frustration. They come in really hot. They're not reading the dog. You know, maybe they hit the dog from an angle. You know, maybe their play styles don't match, whatever. And then the other dog gets hurt, and they get hurt, and all this sort of stuff. So it all depends on what kind of games the dogs enjoy, how they've learned to, you know, approach other dogs, things like that. So play can be one that, if you've done a lot of socialization and you've taught the dog, and they say, every time I see, hear, or smell a dog, or a human, if you will, so see, hear, or smell, what will happen due to what we call classical conditioning, every time they play, it ups their arousal level or excitement. So the moment they see, hear, smell, they'll jump to that same mind frame. So if you think about humans, he loves humans, so he goes into like 100, right? And it all depends on how many times you've done that, and depends on the dog. So we call this drive as well. What's the level of intensity for a resource, a goal, or an activity? That's drive, whatever that looks like. So these dogs really need to learn that, 1, it doesn't happen all the time. 2, they need to be able to condition relaxation in presence of stimulus. Some of these dogs they use their eyes more than their nose. So and some dogs are very, what's the word, selfish. It's all about them. I want to play. I don't care what you think. So that could be one. Generally I find it's usually like staffies, you know, your bully breeds, they get in trouble there. Or boxers, another one. They're always Labradors, another one, because they just like, I love everyone, and they just bolt in. The one in my car is currently, we're working on lessons of that.
In the car?
Yeah, they're set up for it.
Are they?
You can meet them later if you like.
Okay, no, that's all right. I'm thinking you can bring them down.
That's all right. It's all set up for them. Okay. So that's very important, where social classes come in. People learn how to manage their dogs and things like that. It's very important. Second one is usually fear. Fear is a dog's, you know, there's these subtle signs that dogs go through to try and appease, trying not to show like, hey, I'm not a threat, please don't take it out on me, whatever. And as they go through these signals, it's not working, right? And then they start to become defensive. So this happens when, usually I find roughly around between 8 and 12 months is when dogs become defensive if they've been fearful. Can be a bit earlier, because for months and months and months, as they've been developing, going through their developmental stages, they would have tried different things. And if people aren't reading their body language, not stepping in and advocating, and this is where we come in, which is a handler skill. If you're not advocating for your dog, and you're like, well, sort it out, they will. But then you can't complain about the vet bill. Because if your dog's saying, well, that dog's not respecting me, that dog is pushing me, that dog's chasing me, I'm scared, I don't like it, I'm anxious, wham. Okay. So what happens often from there is this can actually develop into a bully. Best defense is a good offense. We call them dopamine junkies as well, because going into that fight-flight mode actually gives you lots of dopamine, oxytocin, and things like that. And that's all addictive. Best defense, good offense. These are the dogs that will respond even without any provocation. Okay. The difference between that and aggressive is the signals. This one is quiet. He wants them to come in. He wants to invite them in. That one puts up a show.
Oh, it's definitely that.
Yes. So best way to explain it is if you look at Ted Bundy. It's a really good one. But he is a serial killer, so he's very charismatic, feigned injury because he wants people's guard down. Usually these dogs won't do it to every single dog. This one will. Or they'll have specific associations. Could be breed, could be sexes, could be a certain place. Depends on what's been conditioned. Does that make sense? So bully is where they hurt people. So if a dog's fearful and go, well, no one's stepping up for me, then they become a jerk. And they actually do it before. And these dogs are like, you'll be like, it came out of nowhere. It didn't. It developed into that. Came out of nowhere, maybe at that point in time, but you weren't paying attention for the development. Okay?
I don't think he's a jerk.
Well, is he respecting another dog's boundaries or not? You just said to me he pushes. That's not very respectful.
Yeah.
So here's the thing.
Yeah, trying to, yeah.
With the Dog Act, I think it's 1979 or something.
But it's all like, it's play.
Doesn't
I've
matter.
seen somebody and
Doesn't
I want to
matter.
play. Okay.
If I don't want to play with you and you keep pushing me, someone's going to get hurt because you're not respecting my boundaries. I want to play with you. Why are you playing with me?
Okay.
That's not very nice.
No, yeah, okay.
You know? Because this is what the Dog Act is about. And it's about the responsibility out in the real world. So teaching people how to advocate. Now you have to advocate. If another dog is bullying your dog, you need to step in. You need to learn how to step in. But there's also a little skill that they need to learn that you're not always going to step in. They need to learn how to communicate as well, right? If your dog's being a jerk to another dog, you need to step in, because if you go, oh, I'll just allow them to do that, and there's a fight, whose fault is that? So I often end up on both ends of the spectrum. I'll have someone who goes, oh, I've just got this dog, don't know him, we've been out, he's a bit anxious, I'm trying to condition him. Dog runs up, and I'm like, put your dog on lead. Oh, my dog's friendly. Yeah, but that doesn't mean mine is. So that other person's dog runs up, doesn't read that dog, now there's a fight. Now that dog that just got traumatized now becomes a bully. Does that make sense? And then the opposite, which I do deal with people. You just said earlier, people go, put your dog on lead. Yes. That is your responsibility.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So, like you said, right? Because you're advocating. The trick is to learn how to get there before it happens. That's the thing. So there's a bit of skill involved, quite a bit. And if you have dogs that don't make good decisions, it's always a good idea to have a particular play group where dogs actually get to know each other. Most dog trainers will tell you don't go to dog parks. Most.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because my daughter's got a Staffy Cross. And they were told, don't go to a dog park, don't walk him every day. Depends on the dog. There are dogs that need to learn that they're not going to be exercised every single day because they need to learn how to cope without it. I work with people outside of dog parks, so they learn how to read people, because you need to learn situational awareness. You need to learn how to read other dogs. You need to see, like when you're driving around, you learn how to read traffic. Because you're not trying to stop something from happening half a second before it happens. You see, and you go, oh, that bus is coming out, that guy didn't see it, there's going to be a crash, I'm just going to, you know. And it's the same. And in the law, legislation, it states there that unless your dog has effective control, it should be on leash. So anyone who says to me, oh, you know, 90% of the time my dog recalls, except when he's distracted, that's not effective control. That's where all the problems happen, okay? But the good news is there's always learning curves. You know, the problem is if you meet strangers every single day, you guys might not be on the same page. So that's very important. So all of the excitement and over-arousal tells me that perhaps there hasn't been too much clear communication to help him. That's all it is. Like, there's no way you can change him completely into what you want, because he's still a sentient being with his own. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So that's very important.